All right, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Everyone, this is Sophia. She's interning with us right now. Sophia is currently in school. She's originally France, and she's now going to school in Canada. Right.
Well, I'm going back to France now.
So now she's going back to France. Sorry, she's kind of popping her up. She majors in finances, and she's interested in real estate, and she's kind of just doing a little internship with us to learn more about the industry.
Yeah, and if any of you have any showings coming up, she would love to shadow some agents, and I'll probably reach out to some of you to sit down with her to kind of discuss your day-to-day interactions with clients and whatnot, to show her the ropes of what you guys deal with on a day-to-day basis. So she also put together this PowerPoint, so you can thank her for this awesome job, and we'll get right into it. All right, so I'm gonna get this. Where are we? Present. There's behind it. Slideshow. All right, so the psychology of closing and how to handle the objections. So this is, obviously a big part of everyone's daily life when it comes to real estate. So we'll get right into some of the things that come up and how to kind of go about it. So what we're going to go through today is the psychology of closing, how to handle the objections, some practical tools that go along with that, how to handle the closing itself, and some popular techniques when you get to that point of the conversation, and also how to handle closing on referrals. So as we always talk about, you want to set yourself up always for the next sale. And these are going to give you some good tips on how to do that and kind of what goes on, the mindset behind it. So before you're closing, so these are the essential 3 items that a prospect must have in order to kind of move forward. So they have to have money. They also have to have the authority. So this doesn't mean that one of the people have all of the authority to do things. This could be a husband and wife. This could be a trust. This could be something. So you want to make sure that whoever you're talking to, that prospect has the authority to sell that property or transact that property. And also the need. So, one of the things with selling is if there's no need, they're just going to run you through the circle and kind of keep grinding you out. So you want to make sure they have the need. So those are the 3 things you want to establish when you're doing your prospecting. So how do you recognize the buying signals? So one thing that you can really kind of gauge is by how fast or slow that the client or the prospect you are talking to is talking. If they're talking faster, that generally means that they are engaged, excited about the topic, and they're wanting to move forward. It's something that they're interested in either learning more about or doing. Sudden friendliness. So now they're getting all buddy with you. They're really talking at a friendly level, and they want to make sure that now you're on their side so that they can really make sure that they're getting the best out of what you're offering. Chin rubbing. So going like this. Colleen calls it intriguing, or what was the thing that you usually do with the kids? Ponder. So they're pondering. It means that they're really thinking about what you're talking about. They're really, deeply thinking about, okay, is this something that I want to get into? Is this something that's right? And they're really starting to think about it. That's a buying sign. So you want to pay attention to that, because then you want to adjust your line of questioning to kind of gear them to what you want to look for. Questions about price, terms, and detail. If they're not interested, they are not asking you any questions. If they are interested, then they're going to ask something about, what's the price of this house? How much can I get it for? How quick is the closing? What, how many bedrooms does it have? Does it have a pool? All those kind of things. Those questions are buying signs. So you want to be listening for that. You want to be looking for their body language. So the chin rubbing is only one aspect of it. But if they're engaged and they're really coming close to you and they look open, they're open to hearing more. If they're kind of standing like this, standoffish, that means that they're not necessarily means they're not interested, but you haven't sold them on the trust factor yet of you and what you're offering them. So they might just be standoffish because they're not sold on you yet. So you want to pay attention to the body language, any change of attitude, posture, and voice. So the voice inflection is really, something you want to listen for. As I said, the posture and the body language is something you want to watch for, and the attitude. Are they kind of how are they acting? How are they interacting with you? So these are all things that you want to recognize pretty quickly in the prospecting efforts. Colin, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, just for the first part, just obviously asking for the money. So just merely asking them about if they're pre-qualified or if they have proof of funds, that answers that question. Authority, I always ask if both decision makers are going to be there. And if not, you can always look up whose names are on the deeds to make sure that whoever is on the deed is going to be there. And also the need, asking simple questions like what's your time frame, like why are you moving, will indicate the motivation. So you want to make sure you have those first and foremost, just because if not, you're going to be wasting a lot of your time if there really is no money, authority, or need. So you want to rule those out first.
Perfect. That's good. That's actually good questions to ask for sure. Especially to establish the need part.
Yeah.
All right. So here's a good quote. We learn wisdom from failure much more than success. So I'm not gonna explain it. We're good. We often discover what will work by finding out what will not work. And probably he who never made a mistake never made a discovery. So this is a Colleen quote. She loves this type of stuff. It's really good, but it kind of encapsulates everything that we're talking about, and what you kind of want to look for and mindset think about when you're prospecting. All right, so the introduction. So as a sales professional, your job is to structure a presentation that is smooth enough to close and wrap up the sale. So preparation is key, is what that's saying here. You want to make sure that your outline of what you want to say is there. I mean, for instance, this morning I had a presentation with my my networking group, and I wasn't as prepared as I wanted. And even though I had the outline in my head, it wasn't written down. And I found myself kind of going off topic and going down different pathways. You want to make sure that you have your goals and you have your outline kind of set and really practiced before you get up there and make the presentation to your prospects. So that way, what it does is it's going to lead you in the right direction to make sure that you are following your script and making sure that you're asking the right questions and guiding your buyers or sellers down the right path. And then what that was, then you can start doing the targeting questions. So that way you can easily wrap up the close and, lead them to at least a decision of a yes or no. After establishing that rapport, so that's that first, kind of set up part of the meeting where you're sitting down with the person, you're getting to know them, you're trying to establish some sort of connection, whether it's, whatever, you both played soccer in high school or you root for the same baseball team or whatever it is. You want to build that rapport, you want to get to know your clients. And in that rapport building, you're also listening for identifying needs. You're then asking for the close at the end of your presentation. So the presentation is basically the solution to the problem when you're going through the identifying of needs portion. So the identifying the needs is really identifying their problem. What are they looking to accomplish? And then the presentation is, how can I solve your issues or your needs with what I have to offer? And then always you're going to be asking for the close and the order at the end. Plan your close and then your sales presentation and rehearse. So again, this goes back to the preparation, and you want to make sure it's quick, smooth, and that minimizes the stress. Colleen, anything you want to add on this one?
I also think you should, if you close and they don't want to use you, you can always just add, that means you haven't given them enough value. So I'm always a fan of closing multiple times. Just because you close once and they said no, that just means you might not have said something that really sparked. I always indicate, like, I tried at least three closes before they end up shaking me off their leg. But I just think you haven't given them enough value. So what else can you say that makes you separates you from all the other competition that's going to lead to the sale? You want to put their goals first.
Yeah, and as we'll in a slide a couple ahead here, you can't take things personally, and that's, they're not saying no to you, they're saying no to what you've said, and you haven't identified how you can help them solve their problem yet. So that's really what a overcoming objection is. It's not selling them on something they don't need or want. It is identifying what their true need is, and then offering the solution of how you can help them fix that need. So by Colleen saying that, that's spot on. Is you just haven't either identified the need yet of what they're really looking to accomplish, or you just haven't really sold them on how you are the very best to handle that need or situation. So that's by going through multiple objections, it's pretty much just starting the process over in a mini version, and then identifying that and then solving a problem. So that's what overcoming an objection is. Because once their objections are covered, then there's no reason why they shouldn't use you. All right. Is closing difficult? So again, this is what we were just talking about. Rejection is not personal. It's just natural. Our natural instinct is to say no. Hey, do you want to donate to Save the Puppies Fund? No, I don't. Well, it's really cute puppy. Oh, okay. So now you've identified, you've kind of looked through it, whatever it is, it's not a personal no. So if that salesperson was just like, oh, they don't like me because I'm trying to sell them something, or I have my own doubts about my process, or I'm uncomfortable, I wouldn't want to be approached this way, whatever it may be, it's not personal. They're not saying no to you. They're not saying I hate you, I don't like you, get out of my face. They're saying no, that I don't agree with what you're offering is a need that I need to move forward. It goes back to that needs assessment. So they're not rejecting you, they're rejecting what you're asking them, or the service you're providing them. Failure is only feedback. So this is a really good way to adjust your process and do things differently moving forward. So if you fail or you don't get the sale, it's just feedback, and you want to go over, and Colleen's really good about doing this as well, is going it over and over in your head and writing it down and documenting what went on, what are some things that maybe you would like to try differently next time, and also what signs did you miss. So when you're going back through your discussion with that potential client or prospect or whatever that you didn't end up getting, go back through it. What questions did they ask that maybe you missed a signal for a buying sign? Or what was maybe they told a story and you missed the purpose of what they were really trying to get across with that story. Whatever it may be, you want to make sure that you're going over it again and being like, okay, yeah, this is what I probably should have looked for. Because what it's going to do is going to open your mind to the next time. So even though it might not be the same exact situation or the same exact story, you're going to think about it differently. You're going to look at it differently, and you're going to approach the response differently. So you definitely want to not just say, oh, I just screwed this one up, on to the next one. You want to make sure that you're understanding why it didn't work out. And sometimes it's not you. Sometimes, you just didn't identify the need, the authority, or, the three things at the front that you really wanted to get through. So, if they didn't have one of those three things, that's why it didn't work out. Some will, some won't. So what's next? Don't fear lost time, effort, or pride. Just move on and just do better next time. Liam actually says that now all the time, because we're instilling it in our kids, where he says, Dad, you beat me up the stairs yesterday, but I just need to try harder next time. So it's something that we can get from kids it's a simple concept, but because of life experience, we've kind of grown to be either too prideful or, be like, I don't want to waste any more time on this failed attempt. It's not a waste of time because it's going to prevent from future failures, and you're going to be able to move forward. To overcome the fears, Colleen will tell you, if if you get rejected, make 10 more phone calls. You know, do stuff that's activity that's going to get you moving forward, progressing you forward. So get on the phone, make more phone calls, go door knocking, you know, call up some past clients and just check in and see how they're doing and say, hey, have you come across anyone that's looking to buy or sell? Have you had any conversation? Do something that is direct activity that's going to get you back in the motion of, you know, feeling positive and getting you some wins. So just have no fear, and it's habitual courage. So Colleen, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, no, it's just constantly practicing and like perfecting your craft. I want to ask a quick question. How many of you actually have gone through the whole presentation, practice it beforehand? Feel free to unmute yourself. How many of you haven't? Well, honestly, please reach out to me. I would definitely love to just practice with you. Do that. To me, that's crazy to just, yes, Kim, to everyone, you have to practice it. Like I played soccer for 30 something years and I'd still practice before I go out in the field. Like you can't, if you're not, you're not gonna, it's not gonna come off as authentic, and you're gonna look nervous, and it's just, but the more you do it, the more it's going to come off as natural, and the more likely they're going to want to use you. So I definitely don't recommend doing a presentation for the first time in front of everyone. You work too hard to get to that appointment. You want to make your life a lot easier just by practicing and knowing what kind of objections are going to come up ahead. So if you want, anyone needs help who wants to practice, I'd love to just set up a time to do that. So feel free to reach out.
All right. Some closing tips. So the prospect is always right. So we've heard this throughout history. Customer's always right, whatever. But it's basically, you don't want to argue with them and make your point. You want to basically can adjust their thinking of what's right by asking them targeted questions or open-ended questions to kind of shift their opinion of maybe they're on something that just can't happen. So there's a lot of times where we get into things with clients where they're demanding certain things. Like, okay, I want a pool, I want 17 bedrooms, and I want to spend $100,000. Okay, well, that just doesn't exist. So instead of saying, well, you can't have that, you find ways to adjust their thinking to say, okay, well, what's really important to you? What can you not live without? What are some things that you really want to look for in a house? And then what I'll do is I'm going to get you all the options potentially. So if you have 15 things on your checklist of what you want, I'm going to get you as many as you can in a house. And then you ask some questions like, would that be okay with you? Instead of saying, well, that doesn't exist, you know, so let's backtrack or whatever, you know, find out you want to make sure that you are phrasing your line of questioning, you're phrasing your conversations so that the prospect is still in control of the process. And you're just doing whatever you can do to help them get to their final objective, which is to buying or selling their home. So that's the key part. I can't tell you how many agents I've run into where they're like, I've told my clients they can't get this, or I told my clients that I'm not going to offer $50,000 left because that's not right. Like, you can't argue with them. You've got to try to work with them so they understand, because they don't know the knowledge that we have. But it's also not our job to put them in situations that they're not comfortable with. So, you know, that's the best way to get yourself in trouble with your clients and not get referrals is if you talk them into, you know, putting in an offer that's, you know, $20,000 more than they wanted. And then all of a sudden they find out that the seller would have accepted $25,000 less, because eventually the seller and the buyer will get together and talk at some point for the most part. You know, if that finds out, I mean, then they're not going to be happy with the job that you did for them. So you want to make sure you're at least giving the best offer or the best information to your clients, but don't argue with them. Don't tell them that they can or can't do something. That's just not going to help you. Keep your opinions to yourself. Don't talk, this is all, standard stuff, but the religion, politics, sexual orientation, anything like that, you don't want to really talk about controversial topics that you could be on the opposite side of. That's just gonna not help you or your client get to the goals of either of what you're trying to accomplish. So if they bring it up, remain calm, stay neutral, and then just try to, again, guide the conversation back to, hey, so what did you think about this house? Where would you like to be? Those kind of things. Always be complimentary, acknowledge feedback and comments. So if they're giving you feedback, hey, thank you so much for that feedback. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I'll try that moving forward. Let's look at this moving forward, whatever. Give them that sense of ownership of the process. Emphasize value of your product without saying anything bad about your competitors. So this is another thing that we see a lot of. Oh, you don't want to use them because they're not experienced. So you don't want to use them because they don't really care about their clients, or they don't take, if you use that team, you're not actually getting that realtor, you're getting one of their throwaway team members. Those are things you just don't want to focus on. If a client asks you about them, just focus on you, what you can offer them, how you can help them get to their goals, and to say, hey, you know what, I'm not part of that team, I'm not part of that organization, so I really can't speak to that fact. But what I can tell you is I offer X, Y, Z, ABC, and this is how I'm going to get you to your goals of what you want. Also, don't make promises you can't keep. That's a golden rule there. If you don't think you're going to be able to do it, don't make the promise. Just say, hey, I'm going to do the best I can to get that for you. But at the end of the day, it's the seller's decision or it's the buyer's decision, and we can only do what we can do. So don't make promises that you can't keep. Colleen, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, just with the fourth one, emphasize value. Yeah, don't be afraid to boast if about yourself. If you are willing to go hard and literally door knock and cold call and market the property to its fullest capacity, then tell them. I sincerely know that there are agents out there who just stick a sign in the yard and put it on the MLS. That's not the way we market at X-Right Realty. That's not the way our company believes in. We really believe in bringing up the demand of the properties, which brings up the price. So we really do go above and beyond for our clients, and that's why we get over asking most of the time. That's why we get as close to asking price, or if not more, because we really do drive up the demand. So you can say that's me, like going back to that, you can say I can't talk about other agents, but I do know that some just do stick a sign in the yard and just put it on MLS, and then that's when you can say the points of differences.
All right. Is buying difficult? So to the prospect's view, feel a failure, and this is something, as you said, we deal with as agents, but they also deal with as buyers. They're afraid to make mistakes or be criticized for buying decisions. And a lot of pressure comes from family. So, if like the authority piece, like, yeah, there's people who have to sign on the dotted line and that's their authority. But at the same point, it could be a daughter or a brother or a sister that is, getting money from mom and dad, and mom and dad have a say in the decision. And, so you want to make sure you're getting them on board as well. So, a lot of times, if you have the mom and dad's trust and you have the people buying the house's trust, then you're going to have a much smoother transaction. So you want to make sure that you're uncovering that up front as well. But that's a big fear for prospects. Comfort and does not like change. So, we're hearing that a lot now, is that, they like where they live, they would like to sell, but they have nowhere to go. That's not really an objection that's truthful. The real objection is that they do not want to change, and they don't have, that's a fear of the unknown in that one. So they don't know what else is out there. They haven't looked, so they don't really know anything. They're just listening to rhetoric, and they're just using that as an excuse but a lot of times that it's a fear of change is not, I don't want to move. They do want to move. They just don't know what they're doing or seeing what else is out there. It is a stressful commitment. Buying and selling properties is one of the 3 most stressful things you're going to do in your entire life. So it is a big deal for people. So you want to make sure you're keeping that process calm for them. And you can do that by perfecting your presentation. So finding out and then just making little tweaks to know what their stress points are of the process and focusing on those a little bit more. You want, to overcome the fear is, you want to arouse their buying desire. So you want to get them so excited about the buying process that they just want to do it and they're not afraid of any of those things anymore. And then if they have had bad experiences before, that's the problem that you've now diagnosed. And now you can offer the solution of how they will not have that problem again. Be smooth, again, quick to close and wrap up the deal. So, you don't want to linger on once you have them in the presentation and they're asking the buying questions and you're getting all the right proper signs of the buying language and the feeling that they're ready to move forward. Don't wait, close, ask for the close, say, okay, so what's, one of my favorite closes is there anything else that would be preventing you from, moving forward today? That's going to get any more objections out. And then you can just ask them, all right, so I have the paperwork here. Are you ready to sign? I'd love to get this moving forward and getting some houses in front of you or getting the house on the market and, bringing in my photography team. Don't be afraid to close as soon as you start feeling that they're ready to move forward. They've made the decision or they're thinking about the decision. Ask the question because then you're just going to be able to overcome those objections if they have any more. Or you're going to get the sign of the dotted line and get it to move forward. Colin, do you have anything to add?
No, just meeting all the wants and needs. Once they meet all the wants and needs, ultimately from there, you just kind of just lay that out. It's like Mr. Buyer, Mrs. Seller, you said you wanted this, this, and this. This house has all these needs. What's preventing you from putting an offer? Like just putting on the foreground that this is what you've expressed to me. We want to hitting all these is what you have. What's preventing you from continuing on, like it's putting an offer. And so it's really just putting the foreground that this is the reality. This is what you like. What's holding you back? And it that just gives you a little nudge to go forward.
Yep. All right, some closing tips. Your attitude determines how you treat other people, so don't prejudge or be prejudiced. So, the famous story that I can tell you on this one is, Sam Walton walked into a brokerage. He came in a beat up pickup truck, and he had like, I guess, overall jeans and like a white t-shirt. Didn't look like any money. He talked to the broker, was too busy for him. So he went down the street, and then the one that did give him the time of day because he didn't prejudge him, ended up being able to secure about 15 Walmart properties for this guy and is now set for life. So that's just something like you don't want to judge anyone by how they look, how they act, because you never know, what their story is. Always go into it treating people the way you want to be treated and, with a clean slate. Positive expectations. So, Colleen says this all the time. You want to be positive. You want to do, she's the 3-6-9 philosophy of just constantly putting positive vibes out into the universe. And that will open you up to look for positive opportunities that are headed your way. You always want to maintain enthusiasm and high energy. So, this goes to that whole mind, body, soul thing. Make sure you're eating right, make sure you're getting enough sleep, make sure you're preparing for your day and you're preparing for success. So that way that'll give you a high success rate if you're doing all the right things. Mind focus on benefiting customers. So this is, the biggest thing in our industry that we see is, agents focus on the commission that they're making and not the customers benefiting from their service. We're in a service relationship building. One customer could get you several other customers if you're focused on that customer and what's best for them. they're going to give you rave reviews, they're going to send you plenty of referrals, and they're going to help you set up for a future career and a sustainable career if you're focused on them and not what you're going to make off that one deal. So that's really the focus on that statement. A mismatch of temperament. So many people are prospects and suspects, but they are not all yours. So there are some people that are going to work really well with me. There's other people that are going to work really well with Colleen. We've actually had that discussion on several times, even on agent side of things. And you just want to make sure that you're matching up with the clients that are going to work really well with you. So you don't have to take on everyone. If there's someone that is just not a good fit and it's not going to work out well, refer them off, or put them with someone else and collect that referral fee, and then move on to maximize your time and your ability to maximize your license and get as much business as you can with the people that are going to help you long term. And Colleen, do you have anything to add to this?
Somebody just called her, so she needs to answer.
Oh, so she's gone. All right. Well, that's so we are 12:32, so I will stick around and answer any questions, as that's the last of the slide. So anything you guys have that you want to talk about on mindset? Otherwise, you guys feel free to sign off. I know we're at 12:32, so I'm gonna stop sharing here. I can see everyone. Any questions?
Rob, I have a quick question.
Sure.
So if you have a property that has, it's for sale, it has a tenant in it, they're going to honor the existing lease. Does that money, like a security deposit or maybe advance rents that were collected from the original owner, does that show up on the settlement statement, or is that considered like a concession? How does that work?
So would it show up as a concession? So that would be a title question. I think that's what they agree to, because the whole point of the deposit when you're taking it for a rental is to ensure that when the tenant moves out, that the landlord is pretty much made whole if there's any damage to the property. Mm-hmm. So that should show up as a credit to the new owner of the property, so the new landlord essentially. And so that would then be a debit from the buyer. And that should be shown on the title HUD statement.
Okay, that's what I thought it would be reflected on the HUD statement, but I just wasn't sure, because I saw a concession on a closing where I knew it was a rental, and I was just curious, like, I don't know if it was flooring or for the roof, but I thought, I wonder if that's the rent and the security deposit, and how that's, if there are multiple ways of getting that money to the new owner when you're going to honor a lease that has, a couple months still remaining.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it very well could be, because they might know what is needing to be fixed in the unit. So when the tenant's vacating, they might have set aside monies to make sure that it was fixed for the new property owner. And that might be what, where you're seeing the credit or whatnot. And that was worked out as far as, instead of them giving back or transferring the security deposit, they're going to take care of the damage. And then, that the legal process of then what the tenant is responsible for above and beyond that. I mean, that would be a law question. So
Okay.
I will not, won't be able to go there. But.
Thanks.
Any other questions? How you doing, Shireen? Didn't see you. All right. So if there's no other questions, talk to you guys later and have a great week.